everyone, and welcome to All Things STEM with Ashley. I'm super excited for you to join us today. This platform is all about empowering women in STEM fields, and we highlight STEM careers, mentorship, community service, and success in the industry. Our motto is to be STEM powered. So today's guest is a software engineer. We will have Chloe, a rising star in the software engineering world with a strong passion for innovation and problem solving. Chloe has spent over 3 years honing in her experience in systems engineering, automation, and software safety. She is currently pursuing a master's in software engineering at Johns Hopkins University while working as a level 2 engineer at her company. So today, Chloe is dedicated to breaking barriers, not just in her field, but in the workplace culture, championing collaboration, and a no-blame mindset. So she enjoys empowering her team to drive impactful results. Whether she's designing safety critical systems or developing automation workflows, Chloe brings a thoughtful and innovative approach to every challenge. So join us today as we navigate Chloe's journey, her advice for women in STEM, and how she's helping pave the way for the next generation of STEM engineers. Hi, Chloe. Welcome in.
Thank you, Ashley. Glad to be here. I'm honored that you chose me to be a part of your video and reach out to people in STEM, women in particular.
Yes, thank you, Chloe. So today, to start out, we want to learn about what sparked your interest in STEM and how did you decide to pursue it as a career?
Well, that's actually a really good question, Ashley. So growing up, both of my parents were veterinarians.
Okay.
And naturally, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian too, just like them.
Yeah.
Until I got into the 7th grade and the teacher gave me a project assignment about what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
And so naturally I chose veterinarian, and I had 2 amazing resources at home.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of information from them and realized I did not want to be a veterinarian anymore because of how similar it is to becoming a doctor. It's the same amount of schooling they have, and it's just, I didn't want to be in school forever.
You're right.
So I decided that I did not want to be a veterinarian that day. So my mom saw that I was uncertain about what I wanted to do when I grew up, and that summer she actually put me into a STEM camp called grade camp that summer, so that I could be introduced to like the different types of engineering.
Yeah.
And in that grade camp, there were all different types of engineering, like civil and mechanical and robotics and computer science. And I remember one of the cool activities they had for us was building popsicle stick towers and having it hold the weight of 3 textbooks, and they were thick textbooks. And so we got into groups and had to see if we could build a structure like civil engineers to hold the weight of 3 textbooks. And I will say my group succeeded in that challenge. Another cool activity was a robotics activity where we had to program this robot to follow a line in a maze and try to get out of a maze. That was a really cool activity. And lastly, we also had a project where we created a virtual island using Unity, and we could create our 3rd-person character to shoot arrows at a target on our island. So that was a really cool experience to have.
Right.
And then the next summer, my mom put me in another camp where we built our own computers.
Oh.
Yeah, so I actually ended up using the computer I built all through high school.
Really?
And that was a pretty cool experience.
Where are you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
So grade camp was with the University of Houston.
Okay.
They might still have it, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And then during my senior year, my mother moved to South Carolina and took me and the rest of the family with her. So that was a very hard transition for me.
Right.
And when I was talking to the counselor trying to choose my classes, my dad was actually with me. And turns out the great education of Texas put me above like where South Carolina education was. So I didn't have many classes to take. Like I already pretty much accomplished most of the classes.
That's good.
So the counselor was trying to get me to choose like electives to fill in the space since I didn't have to take a bunch of mandatory classes my last year.
Right.
And I was unsure of what electives to take because all through high school in Houston, one of my electives was basketball. So I was on the basketball team.
Cool.
And so we didn't have to choose like extra electives. Outside of that, I never had the chance to like see what other electives were available.
Right.
And so my dad was like, hey, there's a computer science class. I think it would be pretty cool. And I was hesitant at first. But I looked and it said that the computer science class was a late in class. So they had A and B classes. And so it was on an A day. So I'd have to come in normal time on A days, but B days I didn't have to come until second period.
Good.
And I was like, bet. I will choose this class so that I don't have to come in every day at the same time.
Right.
And so choosing that class, it was surprising because of how easy computer science came to me.
Oh, that's good.
I realized, wow, I think this is what I want to do at that point in time. And I realized you can make a career out of doing computer science. So that's when I truly decided to pursue a career in computer science. And then I chose to go to college with that same idea, and I was excelling.
That's good.
At that time. So that is the answer to the question.
Thank you, Chloe. That is super inspiring. Very cool. The reason I asked where you were from was because I got to go to a STEM conference in Alaska during my time in Alabama, and we got to they wanted to start a pipeline of how Alaska does it, where they build a computer for themselves in 6th grade, and they get to use it all the way through their PhD. And it was really unique because the place in Alaska was very rural. It was not as much internet and not as civilized as here. So I got to go with like the associate dean of my engineering school. We had like people from the Board of Education come. We had a teacher. We had teachers from other college universities. And we got to spend a week in Alaska, and we helped the 6th graders make their computers.
Wow.
And that was my first time getting to make a computer ever too. So it was super unique to see the process. So I was like, I didn't even know they did that, in the South, they don't consider Texas South. But
I consider it South.
But I didn't know they did it. Let me say, I had never experienced it until I went to Alaska. So that's why I was like super shocked to hear that.
Yep.
When you mentioned that. So
that's exactly what happened, and it worked well.
Good.
All through my senior year of high school, and then I got a laptop for college. Right. I had to be mobile. Point, but
okay. Thank you, Chloe.
And that's how I started my career, and I never looked back.
Oh, good, Chloe. Thank you so much for that. So we got to hear how your parents impacted your STEM career and STEM journey. So were there any other role models or mentors that influenced your STEM journey along the way after your parents got you on that original track?
Yes. So in college, I went to Prairie View A&M University.
Okay.
And the head of student engagement actually really helped me start my career in the correct way. So advice that she gave me as a college student was going to these career conferences and career fairs. And just being able to do that helped me to get internships every year of my college career.
Excellent. Oh my goodness. Yes. Even as a freshman?
As a freshman. Especially as a freshman. So I would say advice for that is as long as you already have a GPA, so not like fall semester of your freshman year, unless you took summer classes with that college, then yes, fall semester, because that's exactly what I did, and I got an internship fall semester of my freshman year. But if you don't go that route, then spring semester should be possible for you.
Right.
As long as you had really good grades. I had a 4.0, but it was only 2 classes at the time.
Yeah, but that's good.
I graduated summa cum laude, so it was a good experience for me. But Yeah, as long as you go to these conferences and make an elevator speech, shake that person's hand, the recruiter's hand, and get in the door. Like, that's how you get in the door. So they'll be surprised at how great your resume looks because of that 4.0 GPA.
Yeah.
And they'll give you like an interview, and when I tell you they were fighting over me,
Really?
like that first interview was with can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. It was with Northrop Grumman. They were two people were fighting over me, one in Oklahoma and one in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
And I chose the Maryland one because my grandmother lives there, so I didn't have to like pay for living, like cost of living.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was a paid internship.
Yeah.
And that was a fun experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Companies look to get sorry.
You're fine.
So companies look for people fresh out of college. They look to see if you have internship experience. So trying to get that internship experience early on really helps you get that first like full-time job. It was practically so easy for me to get a full-time job just because of the 3 years of internship experience that I had gained throughout my college career and good grades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So when you were interviewing as a freshman, well, I was going to say, of course they would know it's your first time. I was going to ask because when I was like a sophomore, I went to my first NSBE conference and I was doing interviews and I was getting so nervous.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I just need a second. This is my first like conference interview. And the lady was like, why didn't you say it first? You know, why didn't you say that to begin with? And so I ended up getting an offer with Kimberly Clark. I did not actually end up taking it. I went to NASA that summer. But I think sometimes having that transparent moment with the interviewer, do you think that assists? Or would you just say, because I was going to say, I started a little later than you. So I was just going to say, do you say, oh, you know, in your introduction, maybe like, oh, this is my first Witch McCall fair and I'm trying to get my first internship? Or did you just, from your resume, they already knew it, so it was just like, okay, whatever?
I think it was more of the latter. I did in my elevator speech say that I was a freshman and I had a 4.0 GPA, so they forgot the freshman part. And we're like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
So that's how you like kind of try to get into the door with comments like that and say, oh, and because I had prior like coding experience from high school, right?
Okay, wow.
So it was Java that I learned in high school. And then I was learning C++ in my current classes. So I said I was proficient in Java because that was true.
Right.
And I was learning C++ in my elevator speech. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, got you. That makes sense. I was like, after I said it, I was like, actually, it wouldn't have mattered because you, like you said, they already saw your resume, saw you were a freshman. Yeah. So it made sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you.
Yeah, and that was the SHHP conference that I got my very first internship from.
And what does SHHP stand for people that may not know?
Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So it's SHPE. I know it's spelled weird, but that's what it stands for. I'm not Hispanic at all. But
so how'd you get interested in that group or that conference? What intrigued you to apply? To register
for that. I actually was told by some people in Houston. So I was originally from Houston and moved to South Carolina, and then Prairie View is in Houston, basically. And I had a big like family friend like support system in Houston, and a lot of them went to Prairie View, and so they knew people I should get in contact. And one of the people that they told me to get into contact was a person by the name of Chris Galvez, and he became a huge support throughout my entire college career. And he was the advisor for SHHP. And so once I finally found him, he was a hard guy to find because he had like 5 different offices in the different engineering buildings. But once you found him, he could really help you a lot.
Good.
Yeah, he ended up giving me a job sophomore year, and I was one of his lab techs.
Okay,
So.
thank you, Chloe, for that. That's super cool, and I didn't know that. So y'all, I'm learning about my guests as you're learning. Even though I know them, I learned some things as you learn things. So that was super cool, Chloe. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I want to go next to what was one project or accomplishment that you're particularly proud of from your STEM career?
So this accomplishment happened last year.
Okay.
With my previous team. I just moved teams last April.
Okay.
But this was my previous team from before that, and I was on an integration team with the same company.
Yeah.
And on this integration team, I was tasked to design a new filter to help with the data that was not being filtered correctly.
Right.
And I was partnered with a system engineer.
Okay.
And she did like the design work, and I implemented this design and it took maybe 6 months to really get like good results that everybody was happy with for this project, and about 20 different engineering releases as well.
Oh wow.
So it was an intense project. The customer had to be like happy about it, and we would design something and implement it, and it would fix like half the problem. And then when we tried to fix the other half, part of the first part of the problem would show. So it took about 20 tries, but we were able to get something like acceptable for everybody. And that happened right before I transferred to my new position. So I left with a big bang.
Yes, that's so exciting. So the customer was happy with your results.
Yeah.
And it solved all the problems. That's exciting. And you got to cross collaborate with other teams.
Right.
So that's super important. In the workplace, it's cross collaboration to get the job done. Well, that is excellent. So my next question is, have you been involved in any initiatives or programs to encourage young women or underrepresented groups to pursue STEM careers?
So I haven't been involved in too many activities, but I have been a recruiter for this company that I'm at. And I went to Howard University and got to talk to the students to like, really inspire them and like give them resume tips and just advice so that they knew like what they needed to do so that they can get that job. And the really good resumes I did pass on to the lead for that career fair. And then the other recruitment activity that I did was go to the SWE conference, Society of Women Engineers. And that was 2 years ago now. And I went there and I got to talk to so many different students. And really inspire them to go for like the jobs. Like everybody that came, they were almost all qualified to like get hired that day.
Oh, that's so good.
So there was a lot of good talent there. And we just I talked to a few like computer science students, and I was like, wow, y'all are doing so good. And they were really encouraged, and I passed their resumes on too. So hopefully they had an internship that year. I'm not sure. I don't get to see the other side.
Right.
But,
Well, thank you. So it's great getting to see that Chloe got to pass it forward. Even though she's early in her career, she still got to help other people the way she got to get help during her collegiate journey and her early career journey. So it's really exciting to see that, especially because everyone I think sometimes feels like you have to be a manager to make an impact, or you need to be a senior manager, or you have to be in the workforce for 10 years to make a difference. But it's good to see that even in your first 3 years in your career, you are already, making an impact and giving back and paying it forward. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Now we are going to transition to learn more about your journey of pursuing your master's while working full time. I know it's something I did, and I know a lot of friends that sometimes want to know what it's like, how to navigate that, and how to balance it all with working full time and having a regular social life and having your other things to do while still working full time and going to school part time. So, what motivated you to pursue a master's in software engineering while already working in the field of software engineering?
Well, having a master's degree at my company actually eliminates 2 years of experience. So it's easier to get promoted a lot faster with a master's degree.
Right.
And I wanted to upgrade the skills that I had and be a more valuable player for my team.
Awesome, Chloe. That's excellent. I love that. So while you're in your program right now, how do you balance work and studying and personal life, and what strategies to help you manage this workload?
So for me, having Fridays off is a big impact on being able to balance between work and my personal life and my schoolwork.
Right.
I usually work 10 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, starting at 6 a.m.
Right.
And then I can leave at 4 p.m. And that's a key, because then I have a little bit of my evening to look at my schoolwork and get a game plan for what I need to do next.
Right.
Typically, I use Fridays to finish all of my work. That's a goal that I have. If that doesn't happen, then it can leak into Saturday.
Right.
It should definitely be done by Sunday.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to hang out with some friends, then I definitely have to get it done by Friday. So Saturday, I have the whole day for myself.
Right.
Typically, my assignments are due either on Mondays or Tuesdays.
Okay.
So being done by Sunday gives me enough time, if I have to do corrections or something, or if I find new information that would make the answer better, then I'll have time to correct that before it's actually due.
Okay.
So I can't wait till the last minute. Procrastination is not the way to go, especially in a master's program. Some tips and tricks that I use is I found that OneNote does wonders. So my classes are all online, and so I just copy all the notes into OneNote, and then I can Control F everything and find answers very quickly. So it's not too much of a time killer. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much that answer. Yeah.
Well, that's good. You kind of already have answered. One of my next questions was, what tools or methods do you use to stay organized and productive while balancing both? So OneNote's a good tool.
Yeah.
Do you have a planner or anything, or do you use your phone calendar to put things on there for deadlines and things like that?
I just know either Monday or Tuesday is D-Day. That is the day you have to complete everything by. So as long as it's a consistent day that everything is due, then that is the day. There are discussion posts, and sometimes the first post would be due a little bit earlier, Thursday or Friday. I hope for it to be due on Friday and not on Thursday, because then I have Friday to do it and actually take in the information before then. So some classes do hurt me when it's on Thursday that the first thing is due.
Right.
But most of the classes are Friday, the first thing is due, and then Saturday or Sunday is the responses are due.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So next I want to ask, how does your current job complement concepts you're learning in your master's program? If any. Sometimes it doesn't till later, but does it with you in particular?
Yes, it actually does. So the last class I took was software safety. And in that class, I learned how to keep software safe, right?
Yeah.
And in my current team, we were having problems with the software and test errors. And from what I was learning in class, I actually found a way to better doing error handling for these tests, so that test errors don't happen. And then we can actually have good, or the results of what the test is doing. So good or bad, it's a test to see if performance is good. But the test can't have test errors that error out the test and don't log the information. So I was eliminating the test errors with the information I learned from the class.
That's good. With software engineering, is it all completely coding? Is there a
No.
mix of things? Can you tell us a little bit about what is comprised in software engineering, just in general, in school, in career, in life? Because I feel like everyone thinks you have to code all the time.
No, so for school in particular, it's definitely a variety of things. I've only had maybe 2 classes out of the 8 classes I've taken already.
Yeah.
That involve coding.
Okay.
So
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other classes did not have any coding at all.
Okay.
There was like projects. It was more like a class called software engineering is about creating a project, not like coding it, but like the paperwork behind that project, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
So like the design, there's a lot of graphs involved, and UML diagrams. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, but not coding.
Okay, cool.
Not coding, yeah.
So when you deal with software engineering, does that automatically include like cloud and artificial intelligence? I know that is the way a lot of things are going. We see it a lot with ChatGPT. We see Meta doing things with AI when we search in it. Google's using a lot of AI. Does software engineering go hand in hand with that, or is that a whole different brainchild
So it's within the computer science like realm, but you get to choose your classes. So you can choose to go the AI route or the cybersecurity route.
Right.
My classes, like there's like the core classes and then there's the elective classes. So those would be counted as elective classes for me.
Okay.
But my core classes were about project management and things like the software safety, stuff like that.
Very cool. I think that's good for our audience to know, because if we don't study those fields or work hand in hand like you, like when she cross collaborated with her team, we don't really know what other groups do. So I really want this platform for people to learn and understand just a little bit more about it, and they can look it up more, but at least they get to hear from a direct software engineer kind of what plays a part in her career and her schooling. So thank you for that. So next I have, how do you envision your master's degree influencing your long-term career path? So
I envision it helping me toward my wanting to become a manager, basically.
Yeah.
So this coming semester I'm about to take another project management class, and I think that class will definitely help me like understand how to like PI plan and see what the cost of like engineers are, and how long it would take to like complete a project, estimating that kind of stuff. So with that new knowledge, I think it'll help me get into like the manager roles.
Good. Yeah. I love that, Chloe.
But that's like 5-10.
Yeah. But that's okay. We're just asking about your total plan. So with how you've done pursuing your master's in software engineering early in your career, how did you decide that? Because I know some people wait. So like for me, I was like about 2 years into the workforce before I did my master's in engineering management. But how did you decide your timeline of, oh, I don't want to wait 5 years to do it, I want to do it now? How did you decide when to start that?
So I knew fresh out of college, I didn't want to start my master's at the same time I was learning how to do my job.
Right.
But I thought I could give myself a year to get used to just my regular job, and then I can add a master's class. Also, I'm only taking one class per semester. Okay. So that I'm not overloaded between both work and school at the same time.
Yes.
So that's like a strategy I already knew I wanted to take before like starting my master's. Right. But I didn't want to wait longer than a year to start it, because I didn't know if I would actually go back. Yeah. If you wait too long, you don't come. Right. So I decided, I'll wait a year. And luckily, talking to my coworkers, a lot of them were already doing their masters in the school they were going to, like basically took all the people from my company. So I was like, oh, I'll just apply there too. Yeah. And immediate, like, yes. And I was like, okay, And with like a support group that's doing their masters at the same time, I was able to like, hey, what class should I take for this and that? But most of them were system engineers, but there was one person that was doing like software engineering like me. So we're actually going to be in the same class next or this coming semester.
I love that.
And we were in the same class last semester too. And we got good grades.
Yes. I had a group of 4 students that we kind of did our whole cohort together, and one was at the same company as me, which made it really unique and really a great experience, because you have someone that can bounce questions. It's like, did you understand what the teacher said on this? Or what did you catch for notes on this? And it's good to cross collaborate. And I love how you said you paced yourself and you do 1 class a semester. So what advice would you give to someone? You've already hit on some points, but are there any other pieces of advice you would give to someone that's trying to consider doing a master's while working full time? Other than what you already touched.
Other than what I already touched.
If there's nothing, that's okay. I just wanted to ask if there's anything else that in your process you considered and thought out prior to starting.
Prior to starting, I think a good thing to know before you start is a lot of the classes, at least for computer science, is group project centered. So I don't think I had any classes that didn't have a group project involved.
That's good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, so if you do your master's, make sure you got a good group to do them projects with, because it could get challenging if you don't have a good group.
How do you scope out having a good group?
So a lot of the time, especially online, it's kind of harder to do that. But a lot of the times the teacher requires you to do like an introduction about yourself and like what field you're working in and stuff like that. And you kind of can surmise like how much coding they're doing through that introduction.
Okay.
So sometimes they even say what coding languages they're proficient in.
Yeah.
But so you just kind of have to be lucky.
Very cool. Yeah. That's great advice. Great advice. I know sometimes the teacher does choose groups, but when you can pick, this is a great thing to understand, because I had a mix as well in my master's program. We had a lot of group projects, but sometimes we got to pick, and sometimes it was decided for us. So, I mean, but it does teach how to team build and learn how to talk and really build connections, even though it's over the computer, even though it's online. You know, having that icebreaker at the beginning of the group meeting, saying, you know, how is your week going? What is a high for you this week? What is something, you know, you accomplished or something good that happened, to kind of break the ice before you start getting straight into like, this is what we need to do. Who's going to do it? So who's going to do which part, and just delegate. But, you know, it's great things with all of it. And like you said, you even meet people sometimes at your same company, which is very nice, because the people I met from my company, we didn't even work together or at the same location, but we were at the same company. So it was still great to meet them and find out like, oh, you started at the location that I'm at right now. And so you built that connection company-wise as well as through your master's program. So thank you. That was excellent. So next, are there any particular roles or areas within software engineering you are now interested in exploring as a result of your master's education?
So, funny question, or funny answer, I should say. I just moved into my current role like less than a year ago, and I'm doing automation now. And in my previous team, I was doing integration work. Okay. And so this is already like a new thing that just blew my mind. Previous team was doing C++ type work, and now I'm all in Python. And so that was like a deep dive for me because in undergrad, I was only learning C++. I had 1 Python class. And then masters, the 2 classes that did have coding involved, it was Python, actually. So I was a little bit more familiar than I would have been if I didn't have my master's with Python. So jumping into this new role, I definitely had to learn a lot. Because there's a lot of cool like things in Python that you can do that C++ is just not capable of doing like in one line. And my mind has been blown like multiple times. Just talking with my team lead, like how to solve this issue and how to solve that issue. And then he's like, oh, you could do that. And I'm like, you can do that in Python? What? So right now I'm like all into automation. So I'm not really interested in anything else at the moment, but automation is pretty cool.
Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you. I'm glad, and it's good that when you do start studying new things, it gives you the exposure to that thing. And that's another reason I really want to do this channel because I feel like when you're exposed to it, you can actually start investigating and learning more into it. But if you never see it, you can't learn about it. You don't want to look more. And so thank you for that. And I feel like it's very important for us to all have a community of women in STEM where we can see and hear real life issues, or not even issues, but real life journeys that motivate us. So thank you for that. So next question, I wanted to ask, were there any challenges you faced during your STEM journey that made pursuing a STEM career difficult?
Yes. So I feel like everyone went through this challenge, but COVID-19 during my time in college, it started when I was a junior and kept going through my senior year. So that's kind of the hardest time for me to be staying home when I'm trying to get a job, right?
Right.
And because COVID-19 had hit, I couldn't go to these conferences that I love and could actually talk to people, and that's how you get your foot in the door, is in person.
Yeah.
So it was extremely hard for me to figure out a better way to try to get a full-time position while still in college, because my role is you got to have a job before you leave college. Don't wait till you've graduated and then start looking for a job. Like, already have something secured before you leave.
Definitely.
So trying to get something secured without having to go to the conferences is just how I was getting all my internships, was at the conference, and not having that available for me was extremely challenging. Luckily, there were, before I would say like everything shut down,
right,
there was still companies coming to my like school and doing like workshops here and there.
Okay.
And my current company actually had came to my school before like COVID hit, and someone from there remembered me. And told me to apply for full-time.
Yeah.
And so I took them up on that offer and applied, and immediately got a call back the next day.
Oh, goodness.
They wanted me to go to New Jersey though. And I was did not try to do that. But my options were very limited.
Right.
So I decided I need a job.
Yeah.
And the company is really good.
Yes.
So I'll find a way to come back to Texas, and here I am back
Yes.
in Texas now.
I love that.
Same company too.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Thank you. She was resilient. She overcame the obstacles, and she made a plan and made it happen.
Right.
Talked about my episode this morning.
Yes.
So thank you for that, Chloe. With that, now I want to ask, what is the best piece of career advice you've received so far, and how has it shaped your journey?
So someone gave me really good advice straight out of college when I first started my full-time employment.
Right.
And they told me to not be afraid to ask questions. And that really was a good piece of advice, because with that advice, I used it to explore different processes that my team was doing, and really gain understanding on like how to do things on my team, so that we could start having like informational sessions and how-tos as well. Like that started after I joined the team.
Right.
And then everybody had the same information, so that we could all do similar work and like help each other out when things were difficult, and be like, oh, I can look at that and actually complete stuff that way.
Yeah.
It was also awesome advice that when you first start, you basically have like a year of a grace period to like really try to understand like how to work and like how to do things. So knowing that made me feel a lot better, because definitely when you first start something, it's like really hard to feel like you're doing things correctly, and like you're like, I don't understand how this like happened and how to do this, and they're like, it's okay, that's why you're here, so you can learn, and then you can do it on your own. So
I love that, Chloe. That impacts even me, because as you all know, I just moved to a new role at the same company, just like Chloe, and it's true. You got to ask those questions and get the help you need so you can understand it, and eventually, you know, take off the training roles and do it on your own. So that was great advice. Thank you for sharing it with everyone.
Yeah.
Next, I wanted to ask, looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently in your STEM journey?
So looking back, I do feel like I wanted to get my master's a bit quicker than what I'm doing now. But the way I would have done that is to start my master's immediately after I graduated and trying to learn my new master's courses and working full time didn't seem to be a good idea, like learning both at the same time. But another way I could have done it was continue like my master's through college. There was actually a program in my college where you'd only had to stay for an extra year and then you could have your master's and your undergraduate at the same time. But I wouldn't be getting paid for that last year.
That makes sense.
So I didn't want to go that route. So I decided to do what I currently am, and I think it's probably the best path for me.
That's excellent. I love that. But for the people that may want to be looking into the other program you talked about, what is it called at Prairie View A&M? What is that? Do you know any information?
I think it's just a master's program.
Okay.
You would have to talk to your advisor to like get added to it.
Right.
But you start taking master courses in your junior year, and you complete it a year after your senior year. Basically.
Awesome. Thank you, Chloe. Also, for those at University of Alabama, they have a STEM to MBA program as well that you can ask your MBA advisors about, or your regular academic advisors, because I did have some peers do that route. But like you said, we get to get paid.
Right. Yeah. And
So,
if you choose the correct company, they pay for your master's. So
I
feel like that's the better option.
Yes. So definitely research all the different pathways. That just was worked best for me and Chloe. So definitely look into both of those ways and see what's best for you if you are deciding to get your master's. Our last question to close out today is, what are 3 tips for success that you would give on navigating a STEM journey for those watching?
I want to tailor these tips to college students specifically.
Okay.
And let's start with forming study groups throughout your college career. Then I would go with going to these career fairs and conferences, because that is really what helped me get the jobs I have now and the internships that I had then. And then also that experience from these internships really help you get that full time. And going to resume workshops would be the 3rd tip, because getting that help from actual like recruiters and professionals telling you what you need on your resume definitely blows the recruiters that you go talk to in person's minds when you actually have a good resume. Because I can't tell you how many times like I've overheard other recruiters go, man, if their resume was like better, maybe we would have given them a chance. So that really gives you the first step in the door, is a good resume. Also, like if you're applying online, I would say look at the basic requirements and make sure you have the same keywords of the basic requirements on that rec number to what your resume is saying. Because it won't pass the algorithm, because I think a lot of companies have like automatic algorithms, and if it's not hitting any of these keywords, they don't even look at it. So being able to like do that and then actually get your resume looked at definitely helps you out.
Thank you, Chloe. I love that. One more question to tag on to that with getting the career fair to look over your resume is, did you ever do mock interviews while you were in school? Mock interviews with maybe your career center or things like that?
Yeah, we had a career center. I think I only had 1 mock interview. What I did is I excel at behavioral interviews. So I made sure the company in question would only do a behavioral interview, and then I would be perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chloe. Thank you. Thank you everyone for watching and for joining us on All Things STEM with Ashley. Thank you, Chloe, for being here today and sharing your journey, tips for success. I really hope you all learned some great things. I learned some great things, and I heard some advice I wish I had during my STEM career and journey through college. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again next time.